Welcome to Generation Movie on a Monday night in looks down, checks notes. November. We're in November.
Yes.
November. So it's our last Halloween episode. We're extending Halloween 1 week because we want to get the 3 movies in and not break the tie line of werewolves, vampires, werewolves, and zombies. Oh my. Welcome to Generation Movie on a Monday night. We are here. My name is J.W. Colwell. I'm joined as always by my good friend and fellow film buff, Rich Drees.
Good evening, everybody.
How are you doing?
I'm
very
doing pretty
excited
well.
because this is the second movie in a row that I've exposed you to, and I do feel that this movie.
We'll get to that.
I do feel this movie's an exposure. Like it's.
People are exposed in this movie. Yes.
Quickly, specifically.
Overall, I'm doing okay. I had a wonderful weekend.
Good movies everywhere.
Yeah. Yesterday, I went to the theater to see the Spike and Mike's Festival of Animation anthology that was just going there for a couple of days.
Everything you want?
Some was good, some was bad. Like every Spike and Mike's I saw like 30 years ago, like in my early 20s when they started doing those things nationally in the early to mid 90s. I mean, that's where I saw like Frog Baseball, and most people saw Frog Baseball for the first time, the very first Beavis and Butthead short. And other things, but this one, I mean, there was a couple of good ones. There's some fun ones that were kind of like playing with the idea of animation a little bit. Some stop motion things. There was one called 8-Bit Water Slide, which I thought was just a lot of fun. It was silly. It had a fun little video game soundtrack. The interstitials where they had like 2 people talking about what we were about to see were terrible and boring, and it felt like those were recorded for like a TV special that never happened. I didn't like that, but overall, I was glad to be out to see a lot of different animation shorts. Oh, and they threw in a couple of old, classic Spike and Mike's Sick and Twisted shorts, including 2 from Craig McCracken, 2 of his No Neck Joe shorts. If Craig McCracken's name sounds familiar, you probably know his biggest hit was over on Cartoon Network. It was a little thing called The Powerpuff Girls. And
interesting.
The design of the characters was very similar to Powerpuff Girls. Like you could have seen these people as background characters in the city of Townsville. In fact, if I'm ever watching for whatever hell reason, if I'm ever watching Powerpuff Girls again, I'm gonna look for the 3 characters from these shorts in there, because I wouldn't put it past them to just slide them right in, and they would, like I said, fit right in with the rest of the design style.
I think what's interesting is I had a really good movie going week too.
Mm-hmm.
I was able to catch up on interesting stuff and be able to be happy and kind of like, and then not be happy and then also be like twisted. So I got to see Back to the Future on the big screen. The IMAX transfer was beautiful. Although there were some people saying that there were lines of dialogue changed, which I thought was interesting. I didn't really hear it. Yeah, somebody said something about one of the people that we're at the screening with came out saying that they changed it from Libyan terrorists to Libyan nationalists. And I didn't really hear it. So it was kind of a weird, like, I think it was just something that this person heard and just couldn't get it out of their heads.
Okay.
Also, the reason I don't think it's changed is because Spielberg had a real problem when he changed anything. Right? He changed the ET, he changed the guns to walkie-talkies, and I just don't think he fucks around with his movies the way George Lucas does, right? I just think
and he did have a change of heart, and he changed those back to the guns.
Right, because he understood that the idea that in '82 the guns were realistic and dangerous. And
Mhm.
in 2025, the guns are still realistic and dangerous. So I don't think it was there, but again, somebody thought it was there, so they were talking. That was the big buzz in the lobby afterward. But it looked great. The movie, you know what's interesting, Rich, is this is a 40-year-old movie that plays well in 2025. Gets all the laughs where it's supposed to get laughs. Yeah, no, it's a kind of like it's a time travel movie that's timeless, which
Mhm.
isn't always the case, right? Sometimes we get
True.
wrapped up in whatever. Um, and then I that was the second half of my double feature on Thursday. So I also saw Begonia on Thursday first.
Oof. You went from Begonia to Back to the Future?
It was beautiful. It was
Oh my
beautiful.
god.
It was beautiful. And not a lot of time. I barely had time to piss. So Begonia, it's one of the best movies of the year, and Yorgos
Mhm.
Lanthimos and Emma Stone they are so good together. And adding, if they decide to add this person, Jesse Plemons, to their little oeuvre, I like they could make movies for the next 20 years and we will only be talking about Yorgos Lanthimos and Emma Stone and Jesse Plemons, because I the idea or concept of muse, he has found his muse, and she is one of
Mhm.
the best actresses of her generation, and she has found a muse in him. And the movies they make are exciting, they are challenging, they are actor showcases. And this movie,
As collaborators, the sum is greater than the two parts.
yeah, well, I think
Um,
they're both great anyway, but when you put them together, it's like
Next level.
they're they're the Reese's cups of filmmaking duos, right? It's chocolate and peanut butter, two great things separately, but you put them together and it's like,
Not
where
a
what
big
have I
fan
been
of
missing
peanut
my
butter on
entire
its
life?
own, to be honest.
Well, no, but I'm just saying. Well, anyway, peanut butter on its own is great. But what I'm
Yeah.
saying is, I just think that she's found his muse, he's found his muse, she's found her muse. Like it's a perfect combination. And the movies they're making, Rich, are so intricate and layered and just
Hmm.
dynamic. They require dynamic performances from everybody involved. And this one is no joke. This one is it's it's mind-numbingly relevant. Is how
Mm.
I would say it's so relevant
Yeah.
that to what we're going through as a nation, as a world. Um, just the idea that we have a whole generation of men that are stuck in conspiracy bubbles, and it's
Yeah,
just
it definitely has things on its mind about internet culture, internet's
and
getting
also just
conspiracy
how
filled
it's
people.
shielded people away from actual human contact. It's
Hmm.
just also it has a lot to say about healthcare, the the idea of healthcare and the idea of technology in healthcare. But
Hmm.
it is a stunning movie. It is a fantastic. I will not be shocked if Emma Stone's name is read on Oscar nomination morning. It is a
Nope.
great performance, and Plemons is also fantastic, and the kid in it is also really good. Heartbreaking in every sense of the way. He's like co-conspirator, and the kid is fantastic. And
Hmm.
he's just there's not a moment where you don't actually like where you as an audience you're not sitting back just going, oh, I feel so bad for the kid. Like just there's never a moment where that's happening. But it's a razor sharp script. They do a lot of work. It's basically about two guys that kidnap a pharmaceutical CEO because they believe she's an alien from a conspiracy theory, and it just goes from there. It becomes a battle of wills between somebody who really believes something and somebody who believes that they are not. So it becomes this whole back and forth, and then there's odd subplots that you just kind of you're sitting there going, what just happened with the scene with the cop? Like,
Mm-hmm.
Something happened. Something happened to Jesse Plemons that actually puts on top of his conspiracy theory problems. So it's a fantastic movie. I saw that. I also made an hour and a half trek, 45 minutes one way to see this, and
Good man.
yeah, it also ties into one of the things I want to talk to you about. So I made an hour and a half trek. I saw it in theaters. It's a stunning. It is a reason to go to the movies. It is a
It's a ton,
luscious,
yes.
lavish, spectacular gothic horror story by one of our best directors, Guillermo del Toro, with some of our best actors, Oscar Isaac and Jacob Elordi. I didn't really ever take seriously because he's only been in Netflix shit where it's where something my wife watches and goes, he's really cute, and that's great. But he is so great. He is the underheralded performances in this movie. He plays the monster, and he is Oscar worthy in every sense of the word. The whole movie is beautiful to look at. It's all real sets and very little CGI and all makeup effects and just
There,
spectacular in every sense of the
there's a
word.
load of artistic awards this thing is going to be up for.
And
Production design, makeup, fashion,
I think
costume design.
the most interesting thing is this is going to go up against Sinners in every category. They're going to be literally at each other's throats. It's the battle of Frankenstein versus vampires all over again. They're going to be up for every technical award you can think of because they both look so good, and Oscar Isaac is great, and his version of the of Dr. Frankenstein is brutal and just a man child. The likes of the world has seen too much lately, to be honest. Like same kind of concept. Mia Goth, by the way, also deserves some credit. She's very good in a very small role, but it's an important role because it's the role that kind of holds the mirror up to Dr. Frankenstein and says, "Who's the monster here? I don't think it's him. I think it's you." And so she's really great. Of course, she's from X and Pearl and Maxine, the movies she's done with Ty West. But it is a spectacular movie that needs to be seen on the big screen. And then I looked today on my feed, and there's an NPR article: "Is going to movie theaters worth it anymore?" And so an NPR article, like not some crackpot who I like my home theater system. This is NPR, like erudite, and basically she had two critics on that. Basically, she says at the beginning of her article, "I had a really bad experience in a theater," and I was like, okay, did you go to the management of the theater and tell them you were having a bad experience? Did you go and
Mm-hmm.
like we had a family of four behind us and in an R-rated movie on a Saturday night, and I was upset. And the people in the article are like, "Did you go and tell the ushers because they might have done something for you?" No, I didn't want to miss the movie. I just wanted to come home, and I never wanted to go to a theater again. And then she then
Well, that's on
proceeded.
you.
That's on her, right? And then she proceeded to
Yeah.
tell the people that she watched Titanic for the first time on a laptop on a flight, and they're like, then she had the nerve and gall to ask them, what movie would you say is a movie that requires me to watch it on a big screen? And they were like, Titanic. The easiest answer in the history of the world to somebody who just announced
Mm-hmm.
to two people who like movie theater. But their whole take is movies are communal, movies are special. They used to be special all the time, and they used to be the kind of thing where people would go, and it was one thing in the world where people could kind of touch base and be able to, look at the cave paintings on the wall and understand each other a little bit better.
Hmm.
And when you're watching a movie by yourself in a hole, where you can stop it at any point, walk away and come back, or do chores or whatever, you're not fully immersed in the movie. You're not giving yourself over to the movie, and you're certainly not going to have a lengthy conversation with a bunch of strangers in the lobby about what made the movie special, right? And so I was thinking about this with Frankenstein, and I was thinking about this with the concept of how I hate Netflix so much for all they're doing. I hate Ted Sarandos so much for everything he's
Mhm.
doing to try to belittle the theatrical experience. And, even to the point where they're
Yet he
not even,
still needs it because he wants Oscars. He will
well, he wants
still
Oscars, but
pursue
he
an
still needs it
Oscar
because
campaign
he
because
wants
he'll
actual
drop films.
filmmakers.
Yeah.
But every filmmaker that has come in contact with him has ended up leaving Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
Ryan Johnson's going to be gone, right?
Yeah.
I can't imagine.
His thriller that he's developing now, I do not see that happening at Netflix. I see
I
that like Lionsgate
I
picking him.
can't imagine Ryan. I can't imagine Guillermo del Toro being thrilled that the movie he's waited his entire life to make is not getting the theatrical commitment. And then even small shit like K-pop Demon Hunters, the Machines versus the Mitchells versus the Machines. These are good movies that deserve a run in theaters to get some cachet.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think
I've actually just started watching K-pop Demon Hunters.
it's
I was about 40 minutes in before we had, I had to turn it off for this.
it's 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 brilliant. It's fun.
It's fun. I like that it's 3D animation, but still using a lot of tropes from 2D anime.
yeah, it's well, and
So I'm
it's
like,
just,
okay, clever.
and let's not forget that the thing at the Oscars this year, if you want some ratings, Academy, first two things, you should nominate at least two of the songs from K-pop Demon Hunters. And you should invite the ladies that are the singers behind the K-pop Demon Hunters to sing in costume at the Oscars. Because I guarantee people will watch. It will be the kind of excitement I had when I was a child watching the movies I wanted to win. Right?
Mm-hmm.
It just for the producers of the Oscars. But Frankenstein, it should be seen on a big screen. It's the sets are so amazing. The laboratory set is so beautiful, and the
Stunning.
castle they found is stunning, and the even the basement where they're throwing bodies in gruesome fashion. But the movie's fantastic. Everybody involved is really good. The set design is impeccable. And it does a really good job of fashioning the story into two giant pieces that are both illuminating and altering of the material, the source material, to the point where it's an actual adaptation, right? The monster
Mm-hmm.
creature's story is absolutely beautiful, and he can see, like, no matter which way you look at it, the way the creature handles his jaunt through what he sees as humanity after he escapes is, and the old man, they take a scene that's only touched upon in the original, over a bowl of soup with the Boris Karloff version, and they turn the old man and the monster into, it's beautiful in the complete look at nature versus nurture, right? Just
Mm-hmm.
a complete look in just that sequence. He's treated terribly by Dr. Frankenstein, but the old man who the creature helps with stuff, comfort around the house and around fixing things outside and making life safer for him, teaches him how to read and loves him for who he is. And it's a great movie. Lordy blew me away. I was completely floored by his performance. Not that I wasn't expecting it, but also I wasn't necessarily expecting. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it was fantastic. And so I got to see Back to the Future, Begonia, and Frankenstein this week. I can't think of a
Good
better week.
weekend, man.
Also, I finished my 31 for 31. I actually think I did 32. We'll talk about that more tomorrow night on Loud Nerdy. Um, Other news, two sad news things to report. First, sad news:
Mm.
this lady passed away. Her name is Diane Ladd. If you don't know Diane Ladd's work, I'm sorry, you've missed some things. Is the best way to say it. I mean, I would say her most important production was that of Laura Dern, but she also, she made so many great movies with Scorsese. She made Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore. She did Wild at Heart, Rambling Rose. She was an Oscar-nominated actress, and just somebody that, if you look down and saw her as a supporting cast member in a film, you would go, "This is probably going to be a pretty good movie," because she didn't really allow herself to be part of things that weren't good, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, Also, she worked with her daughter numerous times. Each time working with her daughter, she ended up getting Oscar nominations. So it just, and recently finished up her life by writing a book with her daughter about the honest conversations they had after she was diagnosed with a disease, where they were just talking amongst themselves and kind of like bearing everything out about life and love and death and everything, putting it all on the table, and then they wrote a book together. A life well lived, passed away at 89. I just can't think of she the superlative. She was just one of the actresses of her generation. She lost a child. She had two children with Bruce Dern. Lost one of them in a tragic drowning accident. Um, and then had Laura Dern to try to fill the hole, and ended up having like a daughter to be, to envy, right? Ended up like loving her daughter who survived, and just kind of, you know, from every bit of things that I've seen, was a wonderful mother and woman, and just somebody to work with that you look forward to working with. Rest in peace, Miss Diane Ladd. And then the saddest news of the weekend. The box office sucked this week, Rich, and
It was
It
not
sucked.
good.
It sucked so bad. Ready? It sucked so
How
bad.
bad did it suck?
It was so bad. It was the lowest box office for an October weekend in 27 years. And just kind of like, theater executives and studio executives are, get us to fucking November, where we have movies on the fucking horizon that have a shot to make some bank.
Mm-hmm.
But let's see. Let's go over the just bad weekend. K-pop Demon Hunters also came back this weekend to make some money. Um, AMC theaters allowed it to play, which bodes well for both Wake Up Dead Man and any other Netflix movie that's coming out uh, in the next couple of months. Because AMC looks like they're going to play ball and allow the fucking Netflix movies to actually play in an AMC theater, which hasn't been the case recently. But number one,
Mm-hmm.
they actually updated it. So they thought Regretting You was going to be number one, but ended up at two at 7.8 million. Black Phone ended up at one with 8.3, bringing its total to $61 million. Chainsaw Man came in third with 6.2 million for $30 million total. Begonia in limited release, upgrading from certain from like 40 from like 20 screens to 2,000
Mm-hmm.
screens, grossed 5.028 million. And then Back to the
Nothing broke
Future was
double digits, basically.
nothing broke double digits. Back to the Future was in fifth place with 4.9. And a horrible, no good, very bad weekend at the box office. Even though Black Phone 2 is chugging along, there's some hope on the horizon in the form of
There wasn't really anything new this weekend, though. I mean,
no, it was all there was no.
everything was held over, and basically Hollywood knows when Halloween falls on a Friday or a Saturday, the weekend's gonna be sluggish
Oh, it was a
anyways.
perfect. Well, it was a perfect mix, because what happened was,
Perfect storm of crap.
not only did you have Halloween falling on a Friday, but you had Game 6 of the World Series on Friday, and then you had Game
Right.
7 of the World Series on Saturday. And it was,
Oof.
LA was in the World Series, so that is one of the biggest movie going centers in the country.
Mm,
So you
I
had
don't. I was gonna say I don't watch a whole lot of baseball,
But a game
but
7
that
of a
one,
World Series.
but yeah, I was in a Buffalo Wild Wings with our my good friend Bill, who you know, who's been on a Loud Nerdy a couple
Yeah.
of times, celebrating his birthday, and that what was that call in like the ninth inning or something like that, the eighth or ninth inning, um,
There was a
where they
play at the
called
plate.
somebody out when he was definitely safe at home. That was some bullshit right there.
Well,
I thought
yeah,
the whole Buffalo Wild Wings was going to get torn down by everybody inside. It
if
was
you're a
crazy.
Toronto Blue Jays fan, it wasn't a good call. If you're an LA Dodger fan, fantastic call. Also, like it should be said that for all the baseball talk, very hard to get excited about baseball. It's a boring sport to watch on television. It's good to see live.
Mm.
But I will tell
Yeah,
you that there were two players that half the world was watching on the Dodgers team. Yamamoto, who's from Japan, and also uh, Shohei Ohtani, who has become the greatest baseball player since Babe Ruth. He pitches and he hits like he's a throwback to a throwback, and he's just like got the greatest swing you can ever watch. But the game was spectacular. It had home runs in the ninth, tie it, and then a home run in the 11th to win it. So it was a perfect storm of nobody wants to go to the movies this weekend, assholes. So nothing got released. That was the other thing. Nothing got released. There were a lot
yeah.
of movies playing
Everything
in
was like second weeks or better,
second
or
week,
worse.
or there were a lot of like rotation of movies like Terrifier or Terrifier 3 or Halloween that were kind of playing but not playing for real. They were just kind of playing.
Yeah, like kind of quick little, weekend revival things.
Yeah.
I think though next weekend though, this coming weekend, this Friday, looks really strong. I mean, we've got Predator Badlands, we've got Christie, which looks really good.
Right, you got Christie and Predator Badlands. I got to tell you, the buzz is hype. Trachtenberg has made an unattractive franchise. Dan Trachtenberg, the guy who's running the Predator franchise. You know, this is an old timey thing that you and I understand. It used to be you could talk to people and they'd be like, "Well, who's in a movie? That's what's important." That's not the case anymore. It's not who's in a movie for me anymore. Who is running the show, right, with these movies?
Yeah.
And Dan Trachtenberg made this movie called Prey. He's made a movie called Predator, Killer of Killers. He understands the franchise better than anybody who's ever been part of the franchise, except maybe John McTiernan. You know what I mean? Like, just
Yeah.
he understands the franchise better than anybody, and he gets it, and he is giving everybody the Predator movies they want, whether like it for whatever reason hasn't happened.
We've also got next weekend to mix this up. We've got the new Jennifer Lawrence film, Die My Love, which is supposedly like a black comedy thriller thing about a couple dealing with her postpartum depression. Should be interesting. And the one I'm looking forward to actually the most, even perhaps more than Predator Badlands, Sentimental Value from Joachim Trier, who's directed The Worst Person in the World from a couple of years ago, which was one of my best films of 2021. It reunites him with his star from that movie, Renata Rensvi, and Stellan Skarsgård is in this thing. It looks really good, and it's got a good, like you said, who's running the show.
We're gonna get Oscar nominees. We're gonna get good performances. We're gonna get, but the other interesting thing about November is also for Bang. You know what I mean? Like November, December is the second biggest money making quarter of the entertainment year. And so that's why we have Predator Badlands. We also have The Running Man next week. So we got stuff. There's going to be things. We got Wicked in a couple weeks, and the Wicked ads have already started. If you're paying attention, they're everywhere.
Now You See Me, Now You Don't 3.
Yeah, which looks good. I mean, those movies. I think those movies are critic proof. Also, you go in and you know what you're getting. right? You got a bunch of really good actors, and Morgan Freeman shows up. He does a trick or two. He leaves.
Shows up, and then
Yeah, and Roman. Yeah. But
Zootopia 2 for the kids.
yeah, Zootopia 2 looks fantastic. The first Zootopia, by the way,
Yeah.
you know what movie I correlate Zootopia 1 to?
Hmm.
I don't know if you've ever looked at it this way, but I'm gonna blow people's minds if they're watching the podcast. Ready? Zootopia and LA Confidential would make a perfect double bill.
God damn
It's brilliant, right?
it. Yeah, I hate that it is. The same way, didn't we say last week the Bad Guys and Ocean's 11 are the same movie?
They're like, but LA Confidential and Zootopia are about giant conspiracies.
Mm-hmm.
There are cops involved,
Mm-hmm.
and they're making people look bad for no reason.
Well,
In this
Who
case,
Framed Roger Rabbit is just Chinatown.
is just yes. Now you're seeing
just
it my
substitute
way.
the red car for the water line. Actually,
that is actually
Robert Towne, when he wanted to do his LA trilogy of corruption, it was going to be The Water, then No Fault Divorce, and The Two Jakes, and he wanted to do something on the red car line.
My daughter, my tune.
Everything.
My daughter, my tune. My daughter, my tune.
But yeah,
well, that's a deep cut. That's a deep cut. But yeah, I mean, Zootopia and LA Confidential are. If you put them on a double bill, like a Mahoning Drive-In, I think you could have a great, just interesting conversations amongst everybody.
Virgil, if you're watching, set us up.
Set us up. The Generation movie double feature, Zootopia and LA Confidential.
How insane would it be to let us program stuff?
I would love it. I would have to move.
Here's
back.
Richard O'Brien's Shock Treatment and Shock Corridor.
Okay. Now for
actually no. Do Shock Treatment and Phantom of the Paradise, and just it's like 4 hours of Jessica Harper singing her heart out.
Guts out. Guts.
Yeah.
Okay. Speaking of guts, this is perfect.
Yeah.
Speaking of guts. We are here tonight for the Tarman and Trash episode. I don't know that you know that the one character's name is Trash, but Tarman is obviously the Tarman.
Yes.
We're here tonight to talk about The Return of the Living Dead, which is a Dan O Bannon movie from 1985. It is the end of our Halloween collective where we're doing vampires, werewolves, and zombies. Oh my! And they're back from the grave and ready to party. So now, I don't know if everybody knows this. We'll do comments first, and then we'll get into it. But good evening, friends. Good evening. Good evening, all. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Ken. We appreciate you both.
Thank you guys for stopping by.
We appreciate it. Production. So, for anybody who doesn't know, Rich has never seen this movie. So I am dying to get how he feels. And I also feel bad because I've exposed him to 2 horror films in 2 weeks, and it's not his favorite genre. But I'm taking it on the chin. I'm gonna do Grumpy Old Men for Christmas. So I feel like these are, but it's not like I'm giving you bad movies to watch. I feel like I'm giving you good movies to watch that are very culty. But let's talk about production. Let's talk about how this movie. There is a storied history of this movie, and even had some lawsuits. So The Return of the Living Dead, the movie, is basically there's a novel by John Russo titled Return of the Living Dead, which is kind of a follow-up to Night of the Living Dead. Russo, the novelist, co-scribed it with George Romero, but then. John Russo and George Romero had a bit of a falling out. They parted ways after Night of the Living Dead, but Russo retained the rights to any title featuring Living Dead, while Romero was free to create his own series of sequels, and he ended up doing Dawn of the Dead, which, again, 1978, one of the greatest zombie movies ever made, and also one of the greatest satires of commercialism ever made as well. But then producer Tom Fox and Russo basically planned to do Return of the Living Dead, and they wanted to do a 3D, and they had Tobe Hooper lined up, of Texas Chainsaw Massacre fame and Poltergeist fame, and basically they had this film corporation named Hemdale, which is a pretty big film corporation in the early 80s. They couldn't raise the money. Tobe Hooper left to make a movie called Life Force, which is another 1985 movie that we could have done for our Halloween
vampire
episode.
movie.
It could have been another vampire movie. It could have been another vampire movie with lots of nudity. Again, it's a fantastic movie. You should look it up. It's great. But the Life Force co-screenwriter Dan O Bannon was brought on with Russo and Fox working on this production. He gave the script a polish, and then because Tobe Hooper dropped out, Dan O Bannon, who was a screenwriter and script person on a lot of movies that you love, like Alien, and other things, basically they gave him the chance to direct for the first time. So it's kind of like they gave him a chance to direct, but the only way he would direct is if he got to rewrite almost the entirety of the script and make it in his own kind of twisted, satiric image, which is where the movie gets most of its humor and most of its kind of dark tone. It's because it's a grim fairy tale kind of movie. And then, but he also did it in a way to differentiate from the very serious tone of the George Romero movies, which is kind of why it stands out, right? So I don't know how you feel about that. It also, but that ended up being like a thing where Romero kind of said people aren't going to be able to tell the Living Dead movies from my Dead movies, and did a quasi, kind of a threatening lawsuit that eventually got settled and the movie got made. They also faced a legal challenge in the form of Dow Chemical Company because it was a little too close for comfort in the script. In the script, the movie says it's 2,4,5-trioxin developed by the Darrow Chemical Company. Dow, who created the 2,4,5-T-dioxin for the U.S. military, was not really super happy about this. Affectionately, that thing was called Agent Orange as well, which basically became a big, huge problem in Vietnam. And so they were super not happy about this. But again, they settled, and there was a meeting of the minds that it wouldn't be mentioned more than once or twice in the script, which it isn't. And so that's the most interesting thing from the background. The background of this movie is that it's got layered lawsuits everywhere during the production, right? No real big problems with the production, except that people were watching it from the side going, hey, we don't like how this is being talked about in your movie. We don't like how our real chemical, which caused real problems in Vietnam, could even be referenced in your fake zombie movie. Where it's
dare you bring up the shitty thing we did?
How dare you bring up the horrible chemical we created and put it in a movie of some sort with a different name for different purposes? But again, filming took place, it's supposed to be Louisville, Kentucky. Filming took place in Burbank and downtown LA in California. And then
on the plus side, though, they did get permission from Lysol for spraying the Lysol. Lysol was like, yeah, sure, makes us look good.
It makes the idea that Lysol could stop a zombie apocalypse is assuring. Again, it's a chemical. It's a chemical that kills germs. Also, for intents and purposes, it does feature the amazing James Cameron.
Wilkes-Barre's own James Cameron. Cameron.
And also the incredible Clu Gulager, who, again, you might recognize if you watch him. He's in Tarantino films, and he actually had other stuff. And it also has a really bang-up performance from Don Kalia Alpha, who plays the crematorium guy. He's fantastic as well. Um, and it's just one of those. There's nothing bad about the production. Like there's no stories where hey things didn't go well. It was again mostly outside forces going, hey, we don't particularly like what you're doing here. We don't like your attitude. We don't like your tone. And frankly, we don't like what you're saying about our horrible products. So, but the most interesting thing is it's Dan Bannon's directorial debut. Dan O Bannon did so many wonderful things in Hollywood, Rich. And the idea that this, in 1985, this was his first crack at directing a film. Um, the movie, I just for intents and purposes, movies you should know from Dan O'Bannon. Dark Star, which we've done on our show. He was an effects person on Star Wars. He was a writer on Alien. He was a writer on a great movie called Dead and Buried that he disowned after it got destroyed by the studios. Heavy Metal. He did two of the stories, Soft Landing and B-17. He did Blue Thunder, which he also kind of disowned when it got bastardized into a not a bad John Badham movie, but not a great John Badham movie either. They then tried to give him a television show to write and produce, but again, that didn't go well either. Then he does The Return of the Living Dead, where he directs. He only gets one other shot at directing, but he also wrote Life Force in 1985. He wrote the Invaders from Mars remake in 86. He wrote a little movie called Total Recall in 90. And then he, kind of had, he worked on some story elements of Alien vs. Predator, the Total Recall remake. So he's one of those great sci-fi horror minds that didn't always get distilled properly into movies or television or wherever he was supposed to be. And so this was his shot at making a movie. And he came off a bunch of movies where things didn't go well for him as a writer on the films, watching things get cut or shaved. Blue Thunder is one of those movies where he absolutely freaked out. I was reading into that today where there were elements of the movie that really work, and then there are elements that they cut because they didn't want to offend anybody, because they were just trying to make a Roy Scheider action film. And he was dealing with real big boy issues like the surveillance police state, and which is one of his big kind of Carruthers. If you think about it, think about Total Recall and Blue Thunder and even this to a certain extent, they're all kind of like visions of apocalypse from the idea of one person being in a world where the world is crashing in around them. And so I think it's a good director performance, but we'll talk about it in a moment. But nothing bad in the production. They did get Scream Queen Linnea Quigley. She plays Trash. She is the one that's naked for most of the movie, and also screams. So she's got a Scream Queen kind of thing going on. But also Tom Matthews, you may recognize if you're a horror movie fan. Tom Matthews is the person they picked to play Tommy in Friday the 13th Part 6, where he goes back and he's fighting Jason, and it's Tommy from the fourth movie who's grown up, and Tom Matthews is the person that plays him, so he's recognizable for horror movie fans. Otherwise, it's a pretty low budget cast.
Oh, but speaking of which, though, and the reason this person was not in this movie is because they demanded too much money. Do you know who was the original actor who was offered what eventually became Clu Gulager's part?
Burt Wilson? Who was supposed to be Burt Wilson, Rich?
Leslie Nielsen.
Oh, God, that would have been glorious. That would have been glorious.
I know, but Leslie Nielsen wanted too much money.
Although Clu is good in it, though. Clu Gulager is great in the movie.
Oh yeah, he's fine.
He's got a whole like I'm stuck in this
for a guy who literally got hired the day before shooting started. He does a good job.
Hello, Jamie Hill.
Oh,
Thank
hey,
you for
Jamie.
joining us.
Good
We
evening.
appreciate you. But nothing big in the production. We'll shift to. But like we should talk about the production. The concept and design of stuff is pretty good in this movie. It's got above average special effects. It's got decent makeup design, especially around the bodies of like Tom Matthews and James Karen as they break down. I have a lot of pictures of Linnea Quigley for whatever reason. Also has really good special effects with regards to like it's practical special effects. So it's the kind of thing where you're looking at it. They do some really good work with, I do have a lot of pictures of Linnea Quigley for some reason. I'm looking at it and just going, okay.
Reason.
Two very big reasons.
Hello.
And then the Tarman is one of the great Living Dead concept designs I've ever seen. The idea comes out of a bucket. It comes out of one of the Easter eggs that the military calls them. It's a stupendous kind of design for somebody that's been slimy and been stuck in an egg since 1968. Okay, so the box office is an interesting story as well. As the movie is bouncing around, two things happen. First off, George Romero is making a sequel to Dawn of the Dead called Day of the Dead. That movie gets an August 30th release date. This movie opens in some theaters in August of 85 and basically open in Los Angeles and New York in September. They were supposedly open in September in 85 and then expand throughout October, but they had positive test screenings. So Orion Pictures that acquired the movie from Hemdale Production basically gave it a wide release 2 weeks on August 16th. They released it 2 weeks before the new George Romero A Day of the Dead, which is interesting. And also when we get to the review section, Roger Ebert slams Day of the Dead and prefers this movie to Day of the Dead, which is...
I can see that for Roger Ebert, actually.
Yes, well, because Roger Ebert, at his core, he liked culty kind of exploitation movies. I remember he wrote Beyond the Valley of the Dolls, for fuck's sake.
I was going to say, he wrote one of the greatest ones.
Yes, so, but it opens, and the numbers are not, like, wouldn't be great for anything, but it opens to $4 million opening weekend, $4.4 million. The budget on the movie is $4 million, or $3 to $4 million. They don't really ever get a full picture of it. So it opens, it gets its budget back in the opening weekend. It then goes on to gross $14.2 million. Not bad in 85. And if you did the inflation adjusted domestic box office, it would be 45 million today, which is 15 million under Black Phone 2, which is a big sequel hit, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, really good numbers. It opened on a set number of screens that were, let's see, hold on. It opened on 1,506 screens. It never got higher than that. It lasted about 3 or 4 weeks, but it had to put a little bit of a dent into Day of the Dead's box office, just a little bit, or it could have been seen as a way to make excitement for Day of the Dead because you had 2 zombie movies on top of each other, or it could have been that Hollywood effect where, Hollywood's always making 2 of the same kind of movie, like Dante's Peak and Volcano. But this one is definitely not in the same mix as a Romero zombie movie in any way, shape, or form.
No.
Critical response then and now. Okay. I'm dying to know, Rich. Did you love it or did you hate it or where were you on it?
I kind of in the middle, actually. I mean, I got what they were going for in terms of like almost like screwball comedy at times. I don't think it entirely gels. I think there's some interesting concepts here. This is the first time we've seen fast, running zombies, chronologically in the movies. So you want to give the movie its due for that, and also for saying that zombies eat only brains, and actually giving zombies like a voice, or to talk, and say, not just like to send more cops or whatever, but
it's one of the greatest lines
the whole thing
ever
with
uttered
that.
in a horror film, right? Just so we're clear.
I'm sorry.
The two greatest lines in the movie are "send more paramedics" and "send more cops." Are the two funniest fucking lines, and if I laugh every time it happens, I laugh every time it's just ludicrous that it occurs and then it happens. My favorite thing about it is, well, actually, let you finish and then we'll talk. Go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
I think James Cameron is playing the comedy far too broadly. He's a great dramatic actor. This did not. This material did not serve him well. I liked. There's a couple of things like the moments towards the end where the two of them are up in the attic, and he has the gun, and he's like, "Okay, maybe I don't even tell her, but I'm gonna take. We're gonna take the easy way out for both of us here." That moment, I was like, "Oh, that's really interesting. I like this bit of drama. Are we gonna get a?" He shoots her, and then something saves him from the zombie, a la the ending for The Mist. Sorry, spoiler for a 15-year-old movie. But so I was wondering where we were going to go with that, and then
just so we're clear, The Mist came to your mind because the ending of this movie is one of the darkest horror movie endings of all time. Just so we're clear, where I stand on this ending. So, but that is true. Like when he picks up the gun, it's a very tense moment because she's kind of like. There are times when she's like, I might let Freddy eat my brains. I like Freddy a lot.
You kind of have her pegged, early on as, well, she's the sweet one out of this group of, punks, Hollywood punks, not real punks, but Hollywood punks. And
there's one that I thought of you a lot when I was rewatching today. The Zoot Suit Kid. Where I was like, if you were, that's definitely you. That, but the hair, and everything. You have everything that he has. I would imagine you had at some point a jacket that looked just like his jacket.
I can neither confirm nor deny this right now.
That's what I'm saying.
But so I was like, she's kind of the good girl out of this whole thing, so she's gonna survive. I just had her pegged as like a final girl, and to have that moment there, and then they do what they do to end this movie, because at some point, the movie just is kind of like it escalates and escalates and escalates to a point where it's like, well, there's nothing else you can do, but.
Well, when the wheels start spinning off, and so a couple things I really enjoy. I enjoy that it's got like this morose sense of humor, and I do like. I understand about the Karen. Karen's a very talented dramatic actor, but he's playing like the lovable office schlub that everybody knows, like who gets to train the new guy, right? Where the new guy is coming in for the first time, and he's gonna show the kid the weirdest fucking thing in the office. Like at the bottom of our printer, there's a dead rat that nobody's noticed for 6 months. It's there. It is what it is. And then my other favorite thing about the movie, my Clue Gulager, right? This Burt Wilson character is kind of like awful in every conceivable way. He is an awful capitalist who is trying to save his own hide in every way, and also, doesn't feel bad about his two people that are clearly dying in front of him. And up until the point where the paramedics show up and actually say, you're both dead. You don't have a temperature. I don't have a pulse. You don't have a heartbeat. Things aren't going well for you guys. But again, dead people aren't conscious. From that, like, those are all interesting things. I think Ernie, the mortuary guy, is also bizarrely, uniquely interesting to horror films, in that he's the he's just he's a little bit wonky. He's hanging out. He's like, I'm working. I found a way to work out rigor mortis. And I do love that the O'Bannon screenplay. There are callbacks to everything. Like everything has a callback that is right out of improv comedy, right? So Linnea Quigley's character Trash says at one point, "Did you ever think about dying?" And I always envisioned myself dying, being eaten by a bunch of old men. Which, the other character is kind of looking at her like, "That's freaky." Um, I don't understand this, but eventually he knows that this character is a crazy person who will eventually get naked and dance on tombstones, which is clearly
As
plausible in
you
this
do.
film, as they are wont to do. And then she gets eaten by zombies. Then they have a sequence where they capture one, and it's a really great sequence. It's like, why do you eat brains? Because we're dying. I can feel I'm decomposing, and they take away the pain. So you're right. The interesting thing for me is that it creates tropes. Fast zombies. Everybody thinks 28 weeks, 28 days later, but in reality, this movie had the first fast uh, velociraptor like packed zombies ever put on film. So that's a trope that it has in its column that Romero never came up with. It has the brains trope that they've never came up with, and it also is the first movie where they all talk and kind of like shuffle. So when we get to the legacy portion this evening, there are a lot of movies that people love that are these culty zombie movies. Where I'm going to bring up one that I think is highly underrated, but they all have beginnings in this movie. This movie is the place where the weird concepts all come to a head. And whether you're, the fine line between horror and comedy that Dan O'Bannon kind of like, he crosses the line, jumps over the line, jumps back, jumps over, jumps back. Like, and so I can understand it if it's like your first time watching, being in the middle on it, because it like there are moments where you're like, it doesn't know what it wants to be. But I think from repeated viewings, and I've seen it a decent amount of times, it knows exactly what it wants to be, and that's an
Oh yeah,
alternative
yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm
to
not
Romero
saying that
Doc.
it's I'm not saying it's schizophrenic or anything like that, or it's uneven that way. It's just
It goes from
it,
0 to
it
100 pretty fast.
it does what it wants to do, and I'm like, okay, fine, go with God. This isn't necessarily my
My
cup of
cup of
tea.
tea. Yeah. I'm glad you've been exposed to it though, because it is like the interesting thing for me has always been like all of the tropes that come out of it, all the horror comedy tropes that come out of it. I'm going to talk about one zombie movie, and then there's another zombie movie that doesn't exist unless this movie works, right? But we use Rotten Tomatoes as a good arbiter, as a good place to find different things. It has a 70% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is, as you know, Rich, for 80s horror films is very high. 70% for an 80s horror film is extremely high. And it has kind of come into its own. It's at 80% from the popcorn meter. It's come into its own as it's progressed through its life. It's become a cult film, like it's become almost a rite of passage cult film as well.
Mm-hmm.
Where you look up and you're like, there are people that hate it, and there are people that kind of like poo poo it as too gory and too much whatever. The Ebert quote that is great is, and this is from his review that he did in 1985 of it, gave it 3 out of 4 stars. It's kind of a sensation machine made out of the usual ingredients, and the real question is whether it's done with style. It is, which is as good a review as you can get from Ebert on a horror film, because Roger Ebert likes exploitation movies, but he doesn't necessarily like the horror films that were churned out in the 80s. You go back and
No.
watch his reviews. Him and Siskel were big nonconformist hating 80s horror films very much, even the good ones.
I think it was more the slasher subgenre that I think
They
particularly offended them outside. And I wouldn't say this is a slasher by any sense of
no.
word. So, he was probably a bit more, I don't want to say lenient, but a bit more accepting of this film versus another, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, Halloween.
Yeah. Variety staff also has an interesting kind of review. Director Dan O Bannon deserves considerable credit for creating a terrifically funny first half hour of exposition, something in which he is greatly aided by goofball performances of James Karen as a medical supply know-it-all, which I think is an interesting take on the character. The idea that he's I'm going to show you the ropes, kid. And oh, by the way, there's these crazy Easter eggs that have been in the basement since the 60s. Because they're weird, and they also have something to do with Night of the Living Dead, which I think is also an interesting subplot of the script, is that we know we're going to riff on Night of the Living Dead. I know we're going to talk about it, and then we're also going to take all of the tropes that they did in the original movie and kind of, because these zombies don't go down from the head shot, right? That's another trope that they've done. It's just one of those movies where I think if you're the annoying characters are not nearly annoying to the point where they're off-putting, and the characters you end up loving, like Ernie, the crematorium guy, who's like, they have a moment. There's a hysterical moment where all the dead are trying to break in to the mausoleum slash funeral home, and the African American kid goes, "How many more windows does this place have?" And he's like, "No more windows. No more windows. We're good." And it's just, it becomes one of those. It becomes like an interesting. It's got gore in spades. It's got horror in spades. It delves into the tropes of a zombie movie while also kind of making fun of the tropes of a zombie movie. If all I need is one good hit and they go really slow and there's a lot of them, but I can hit them with shit, great. Once you get to that point where they twist that, right, where they take down the cadaver yellow zombie and he's just kind of sitting there moaning with like the pickaxe in the back of his skull. And they're like, well, how do we kill it? And then it's like, well, bring out the bone saw and let's go over and burn it. And then
here's a thing I just realized too. This movie does the whole, well, I saw it in a horror movie, so I understand how this works, and then it gets subverted like that. That Scream does. This is totally, a predecessor to Scream.
We're gonna get there. It's meta for meta. It's meta for meta's sake. Also, let's talk about the ending, because it is the ending for me is one of those endings where it's like, it's the response ending, right? It's the ending that you would expect from the U.S. government. We've been waiting for the Easter eggs for a long time. And at first, when you first see the general come home from his day and he's having dinner with his wife and he goes into
we never fucking go back to him for the rest of the movie until the end.
But he goes into one room and there's a huge setup in the one room, and then he comes out and his wife's like, yeah, Harold, living with all this shit is a lot. And he's like, well, honey, they need to be able to get to me at any point. And you're like, what the fuck is happening here? What is this? Where are we going with this? And then, now, how do you feel about the ending? Do you think the ending is one of the great horror movie endings? Because it's logistically what theoretically would happen. And actually, I would argue with you, it's what would happen now. This movie is ahead of its time. It would definitely happen. Like there's a zombie apocalypse, President Trump in Chicago. Well, I guess Chicago's got to go. Oops. So.
If if a zombie apocalypse broke out in a red state, then it would be a little questionable if you would go the nuclear option. But
we have a zombie apocalypse in Orlando, sir. I don't know. A lot of people vote for me in Orlando.
The good and bad people on both sides of the zombie issue.
But yeah, for me, it was one of those endings when I was younger, right? It came out in '85, so I was 11,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I definitely saw this when I was younger and didn't understand how great Linnea Quigley is until I was about 15 or 16. Um,
Until
anyway,
after puberty.
until after
Uh,
puberty. But it is one of the great endings where it's a shook ending. It's like, oh yeah, they probably would. Like,
yeah. I mean, it felt inevitable almost. You know,
well, because shit breaks
it's
down
like when you
real
look
quick
at
in
it,
the
you
movie.
go, well, yeah, that's, I mean, there was no other way to end this movie.
Shit breaks down real
It's
quick.
funny because
It goes from
in
one
like,
paramedic to two paramedics to one cop car to 12 cop cars, and then it goes to a cop brigade, and that sequence where they get overrun, right? All the people come out of the cemetery,
mhm.
and then Kluger is just holding up the phone in the just holding up the phone, like, and they're like, "What's wrong?" And he just holds up the phone behind his head, and he's like, and all you hear is screaming. And then he's like, then he gets the idea. I'll call the number on the side of the egg, right? And it's like, okay, this isn't gonna go well. And then the guy gets to play with his little thing, and he looks at a little readout, and yeah, I've got confirmation from the Louisville police that things have broken down, and then the ending happens where they launch a tactical nuclear missile that blows up everything, but then all the gas and the rain that's supposed to cover everything up goes back up, and the gas from all the creatures, and
Mhm.
it theoretically starts the zombie apocalypse.
It's the water cycle. We learned about it in fourth grade. Come on.
Yes, it is an amazing sequence. So let's get to legacy. I think you hit on something that I really love. That this is the beginnings of a meta kind of understanding of horror films, to the point where people are bringing up like, well, did this work in, you know what I mean? And actually, we have it with all three of these movies. If you pay really close attention, all three of these movies reference what happens in other horror films.
Mhm.
Um, which was, I'd love to say it was some sort of concept I had, but it probably in my subconscious, it was there. With Fright Night, we have what happens in actual vampire movies with a film host fighting a vampire. Silver Bullet, we have like Kid Who Understands horror novels and horror in general, all the great books. Everyone Marty had read said the only way to kill a werewolf was with silver. And then this one is, we've seen Night of the Living Dead, right? Just blunt force trauma to the head should work. And then it doesn't. And then all hell breaks out. But where, like, legacy stuff, like this is the first movie with fast zombies. This is the first movie where there's a pack mentality to the zombies that will be copied by 28 Days Later, by The Walking Dead, by like various
Zack
things.
Snyder's Dawn of the Dead.
Zack Snyder's done that, but the one that this movie paves the way for is a little movie called Shaun of the Dead, where the tropes and everything. And again, I'm not saying it's as good as Shaun of the Dead. It's not, but in some way, Return of the Living Dead and Shaun of the Dead are related. They have a DNA structure that involves people you don't want responding to the zombie apocalypse having to respond to the zombie apocalypse. They include a medical supply company warehouse guy, his person that's training him, the owner of the medical supply house, and a bunch of punk rock people, as well as a guy who's stuck in a dead end job and who only goes out and drinks with his friends and plays video games with his other friend who's kind of a bum. It's the same concept. Um, the other movie that doesn't get as much love but deserves it, and especially with Nicholas Hoult having his moment right now, Warm Bodies is a pretty another movie where zombie tropes are spun on its head, and kind of like this movie, has a lot of DNA in it, where you could have
Hmm.
humor, and also a little bit of gore. And I would argue that horror comedies, like, we've always had horror comedies, but this is the first one where it's like it's specifically really, there's a lot of explicit nudity, explicit gore, plus the comedy components that are you could find. Rich, if the Marx Brothers starred in this movie, it wouldn't be that far off. With Zeppo kind of honking a horn, you know what I mean? Like,
It'd be Harpo honking the horn first of all.
did I say Zeppo? I said Zeppo.
Yeah, you said
Harpo.
Zeppo.
That's a fuck up. That's a fuck up of epic proportions. Especially with
Dude.
January 1st coming up, my birthday, when there'll be nothing but Marx Brothers movies on. Fuck. But anyway, so it's got a lot of DNA there. It is meta. It is got like, what have we learned from movies? What horror movies are we watching? So it does have a screen meta that I think is a great legacy. What else? Anything you jumping at? Oh, Bannon gets one shot to direct, and then he directs one more movie, and that's it. Even though this one was pretty successful for its budget.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, nothing else really jumping out at me. I mean, we know they went on to do 2-3 sequels. They keep talking about a reboot that I'll believe it when I see it happen.
There was a trailer. There was a trailer for the reboot that dropped, and everybody thought that it was coming out for Christmas, and then a year has passed. We're already in November of the following year. So, whether we get a reboot, like, I think it would be very hard to recreate the vibe of this movie. Like, and also, like, one of the reasons it's become a cult movie legacy wise, there's been so much trouble trying to get all the components of this movie, like the music components that were originally there. So much fighting about that. Like, if you're paying it, like, there are video releases that have original component songs. There are other releases that don't have some of the songs. The one song that they found really hard to tie down was what's the name of the song? Deadbeat Dance, right? Deadbeat Dance by the Damned that plays in the movie has been replaced in several versions of the movie. So it's got a legacy of being a cult film because of all the, like, one of the reasons it's the cult film, Rich, is because of all the different broken versions of the movie that have appeared in various places. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it came out right on the cusp of home video taking off and realizing you're going to need those rights as well, which, turned out to be a big, giant bugaboo for a lot of 70s, early 80s movies and television, to be quite honest, to be released, in new media. And ultimately, it took even till the DVD era for them to go add a codicil in the contract saying, and on, this covers this, and this, and other new technologies that have yet to be invented from now until the end of time. Period.
Well, and even as something as simple as the voice of the Tarman is different depending on which version of the movie you get. So it's kind of got this great, like, it's got a Blade Runner-ish history with its legacy that's a fascinating, like, we could probably do a whole show on it, just the idea of how many different versions of this movie there have been and how many different song components had to be changed and how many different, like, the woman's voice that's used for the zombie that's strapped on the table has also changed. So it's one of those things where it's like varying degrees of, like, weirdness that have to do with the background of these things. But it is a viable franchise. If you release a Return of the Living Dead movie, if you were to release a reboot, I don't know how you copy the style. Like, I don't know if you would necessarily be able to copy the punk rock aesthetic that is here. That is both, the punk rock aesthetic is viable in the young characters in the movie and also viable in the Dan O Bannon was a punk rock writer, director. Do you know what I mean? Like, he never really fit in Hollywood. So he has a punk rock vibe to him that is attributable to punk rock in the sense of, I don't like to be told what the fuck to do ever. Right? So I don't know if you get the reboot that works without that aesthetic. Oh, because at that point it just becomes another zombie movie, and we've been inundated with so many zombie movies and so many like. Although I
Oh
don't,
gosh.
so many, and then also The Walking Dead is kind of, and I say this with all honesty, Walking Dead has kind of killed the genre. Like it's the disappointment with that show and where that show started and where that show is ended after 11 seasons. It started as a Frank Darabont amazing kind of
Mm-hmm.
adaptation and turned into a just a overkill.
Dude, AMC not wanting to pay Darabont what he was worth, and he left,
And once
and
he
he
left,
kind of took the show with him, even though the show remained.
the quality component he took with him,
Mm-hmm.
because then there was nobody. It's very much a Star Wars situation with The Walking Dead. The idea that Lawrence Kasdan and who's the producer on, oh, I can't think of his name. Who's the producer on Empire that left?
Oh, damn it! That's
This is
just any
it's
other moment I would have been able to tell you.
hold on. I can't believe I fucking forgot this. To make my point, I can't believe I forgot this. It's right on the tip of my tongue too. Like it's
Yeah,
uh,
I know people.
Gary Kurtz.
Gary Kurtz. Yeah. God damn.
That's bad for both of us. But we're old and it's okay. When Gary Kurtz left Star Wars,
long day.
When Gary Kurtz left Star Wars, there was nobody to tell George Lucas no. In the same way, when Darabont left the Walking Dead adaptation, there was nobody to tell Kirkman no. Don't do that. Or, like, we can change this or fix it. So it's a similar thing. I don't know if you can do a reboot without the aesthetic, although on its cult viability, I think it opens big. Whether it's good or not, whether it has the same vibe as the original, I think it opens big. The two sequels, the first sequel, Return of the Living Dead Part 2, actually has a good vibe to it, but it's more like an 80s kids movie. Like, because it's basically the eggs are found by another set of eggs are found by like a kid, so it becomes like a Spielberg kind of like satire a little bit. The third one is really weird. It's about somebody who brings his dead girlfriend back. It's not great. And then the fourth and the fifth ones are, they're up in the air. They're not viable. So, I would love to see him try, but it's the weird thing where it's a one and done thing. It's like the Matrix. Should be one, just one
Highlander.
perfect movie or Highlander. Yes, just one. One reboot of Highlander is fine. The Quickening and a series of television shows. Although there are a lot of people that love the Highlander television show, so I don't want to degrade them.
I enjoyed it at the time. If I went back and rewatched it now, I don't know what my reaction would be, to be honest.
Well, that's what I mean. Like our tastes changed so much, but the original Highlander movie, and theoretically the reboot we're about to get should be good. Like there are components where you're like, maybe it'll work with the actors they picked.
They've been working on this reboot for close to 20 years, going through a number of writers and directors and possible stars and studios. This project keeps bouncing around. I did a script review back in 2008 of a draft from 2006 or something like that, back when I was still doing kind of like a lot of script reviews stuff on the site. And I remember kind of liking it because it did kind of bring in a few things from the TV series, like the concept of the Watchers. And one great concept that they introduced in this was there's one immortal who like lives out in like Arizona or whatever. And everybody has decided this guy Everybody has decided this guy is hands off. Nobody attacks him. Nobody tries to duel with him because he's the guy who goes around and gets them all new IDs when they start to like have to move because everybody starts to notice that they're not aging. He's the guy who can crack into Social Security's computers and set
He's
up, your
he's
whole
a
new ID and
higher
everything.
hacker. We're not going to kill
Yeah,
him because he
it was
needs. We need our IDs.
it was the most simple, basic question about the franchise. How do these guys keep changing their identities? And oh no, one of them just does it, and everybody decides, no, we're going to let him do that for us. And so he's
They
hands
could
off
make him
on
a
that.
lawyer. It'd be funny because, like,
Um,
who does? He's the Highlander estate planner. But yeah,
I
but
just thought it
like
was
I
like,
said,
that's
there's a
such a
vibe.
clever
There's a
idea. I
chance
liked it.
there's a chance they could reboot this franchise, and it would be the gangbusters. And there's also a
Mhm.
chance that I would go and come back, and I would just have this face.
That's good. That's gonna be a day when we have an hour long discussion just on that movie. I
Just
think.
on that movie. Um,
Yeah.
okay, but this is a good place to stop. I'm so happy that you got to experience
Ooh.
both Silver Bullet and this. I
Yeah,
hope it
I,
wasn't
I
too much.
like them both. I don't love them both. I see, what they have to offer. And if I had seen them in the 80s, I probably would have been a lot. Yeah, I could see where I might have gotten a little bit, they would have gotten their hooks into me a little bit better,
Well,
when
and
I was
I think that's
16.
part of it. Part of it
That's because of the
is
boobies.
yeah.
Uh,
Well, yeah, but that's part of it. But also the idea that it was so different at the time. It was so different from the Romero zombie movies. They were very slow. They were
mhm.
shambling. And everybody wants to give credit to 28 Days Later, and I love 28 Days Later, but again, it's a virus movie, not a zombie movie. Also, just so we're clear, this was the first movie where the zombies attacked in packs. The zombies were fast. You had to
Yeah.
actually do damage and move on. You know what I mean? But we now shift. We're in November. We're away from horror films. There are not a lot of Thanksgiving films, Rich, and we're going to
Huh.
be off for a couple weeks
Huh.
after next week.
Odd then.
Um, we've run a sunder of Thanksgiving films, so we've decided to do some crime movies leading into November and December, and we're gonna do some 85 movies or 95 movies, so to speak. And the next two movies we have on our list that will be next week, the 10th. We're gonna do an 85 classic that is one of my favorite movies. The Peter Weir directed and John Harrison Ford starring as John Book. The amazing, the only one of his only Oscar nominations. Rich.
Mm-hmm.
Harrison Ford as John Book. Um, Witness. We're doing Witness next week, which is one of the great crime movies of the '80s. It's also one of his best performances, and it is a beautifully crafted thriller that has the simple premise: what if you put a Philadelphia cop and stuck him with the Amish? Um, it's beautiful in every sense of the word. It's got the player elevator pitch, and it's just one of Harrison Ford's best performance. And he ended up working with Peter Weir a couple times with Witness and Mosquito Coast, so it becomes one of Ford's best creative periods. And this is one of his best performances as a Philadelphia cop. Um, and it's just a beautiful movie. And there's a barn raising scene that if you have never seen it, I please watch it before we come next week because we're going to be talking about it. It's beautiful. It's a stunning bit of cinematography, and just the movie is gorgeous. Has some of the best things, and Ford is great in a non-genre, non-franchise role. Because nothing ever, except an Oscar nomination, came of it for him for this movie. But it's one of the bigger hits of the '80s as well. Um, where can people find your stuff, Rich Drees?
Before I roll through my plugs, I did also want to throw one other thing at you. Do you want to feel old right now?
Uh, sure.
Do you know what Turner Classic Movies is premiering on Friday night at 10 o'clock? The first time they have shown this movie on their service?
No, Rich, I don't. But you're gonna tell me and make me feel old as a Turner Classic movie. Go ahead.
Raiders of the Lost Ark. Right after, good double feature though. It's like right after Wizard of Oz.
Wizard of Oz and Raiders. That is my jam, man.
Yeah.
That is my '80s jam. That's my
See,
80s jam. It doesn't make me feel old. That actually makes me
I
feel
mean,
young at
it's
heart.
what's really funny is okay.
I was 7.
Wizard of Oz to Raiders is 1939 to 81. So that's 42 years, 43 years,
Yeah,
something like that, right?
yeah.
81 to now is 44
44 years.
years.
Yeah, about right.
So that's what we're looking at in terms of, roughly the same distance to Raiders that
But
Raiders had to Wizard of
that's
Oz when that came out.
why are they doing it? Any specific reason? Why
I
it's?
don't think so. I think they just was like, hey, we've got the.
I would like to
let's-
see the bumps from Wizard of Oz to Raiders. I might actually have to tape that just so I can see what the
Yeah,
bump is.
I might set the
We're going from
DVR
one of
to
the greatest.
record
We're going
both of
from one of the
those.
greatest fantasy movies ever made to the greatest high action adventure movie ever made. Although my dad would cringe. My dad and I used to have fights about Raiders, like because Raiders
Aw.
for me was the movie, and he would be like, "It's not the greatest high adventure film of all time, only because I have other high adventure films." So he would like, if Raiders
Eh,
came up for me as a 7-year-old, and these are just so we're clear, I was a savant with regards to movies when I was 7. I was seeing all of the older movies, and so I can have this
and if
argument with my dad, but my dad would be like, "Yeah, I know you think it is, but in reality, it's Lawrence of Arabia or Guns of Navarone."
And if you wanted to just stay up through the whole evening, as I'm looking ahead on the schedule now at Turner Classics, if you wanted to stay up after Raiders ended, you would immediately go into Romancing the Stone, followed
Oh,
by Jason and the Argonauts at
what a day!
2:15.
What is
This is overnight. This is overnight.
I know, but what is this being called? Like, what day is this being called? Because this is a
Awesome
series.
day. I don't know. And
is
then
a
at
series of-
4:15 in the morning, 4:15 in the morning is the Maltese Falcon.
Jesus Christ!
I know.
Jesus, that is some great programming. Although
Yeah.
if you, I'm not gonna lie, if you led with Jason and the Argonauts into Raiders, that would, or coming coming
I
out
mean-
isn't bad either. But
I mean,
Romancing the Stone,
Romancing the Stone after Raiders, because I mean,
it's
that
perfect.
is such a natural progression. Because we
Yeah,
never would have had Romancing the Stone if Raiders hadn't
if
been.
we don't have Raiders, but that is a really good day of programming. Wizard of Oz, greatest
Wizard of
fantasy
Oz at 8:00 in the evening on Friday.
Raiders,
at
the greatest
10.
action film ever made, in my opinion.
Mhm.
You could have many arguments about that, but the choices
Not
are
for me.
Raiders or Die Hard. And then Romancing the Stone, which is a great homage to Raiders, but also
Mhm.
a pretty damn good action comedy. Then Jason and the Argonauts, which is spectacular Harryhausen. And then the Maltese Falcon, which is the stuff our dreams are made of.
Yes.
That is an eclectic, wonderful thing that could be, again, the bumps. The bumps, like the bump from Raiders to Romancing the Stone, easy. The bump from
Mhm.
Wizard of Oz to Raiders, I need to see what Mankiewicz is saying. And then I want to see the bump from Romancing the Stone to Jason the Argonauts. And then the bump from Jason the Argonauts to Maltese Falcon all have, like, we go from Harryhausen with skeleton.
I dare say after Romancing the Stone, they go without intros at that point. You just coming up next on Turner Classics.
But it's
Jason
like
and the Argonauts, followed by
Harryhausen made skeletons, and now Dashiell Hammett will make Maltese Falcons. It's just it
Mhm.
kind of fun stuff. Do your bumps so we can get out of here.
Okay, sorry about that. Yeah.
Wow, that's a great day, though. That is a fantastic day, though.
Yeah. All of my writing can be found at filmbuffonline.com. We also have a Facebook page that you can follow along. We let you know when new stuff goes up, as well as add little bits on days history, film history, and let you know when sad things happen, like today's passing of Diane Lane. I do 2 other podcasts, one of which we haven't turned out any new episodes, but the other podcast that I do is the Film Scribes podcast, which is the official podcast of the Philadelphia Film Critics Circle, of which I am a proud member. And we just dropped our latest episode roughly 22 and a half hours ago. I finished it off at like 5 minutes after midnight last night and promptly published it, so it's available out there. It's 6, count them, 6 of us are all together doing a round table of some of the great things we saw at the Philadelphia Film Festival. If you have an hour and 10 minutes, you want to find out about a bunch of new films coming out your way to keep an eye out for, give it a listen. It's on all your major podcatchers.
Where else yet?
Oh, on the on the socials, I can be found on Twitter, Threads, barely, and Blue Sky as Filmbuff Rich.
So you can find me, JW Movie Guy, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, all those places. You can also find me on Tuesday nights with my good buddy Jerry and sometimes Joe Ridgely of the Indie Escape Network.
Joe Ridgely guy.
And that Joe Ridgely guy. little scammy. No, just kidding. And then we have this big show coming up. New host, new night, new time, new Indie Brigade, 11/26. Thomas J. Churchill, filmmaker extraordinaire from L.A., will be joining the network. We're super excited to have him, thrilled to have him. And that'll be coming up. But Loud Nerdy coming up tomorrow night. We're going to go over the 31 for 31, where I inadvertently did 32 movies. Just so we're clear.
Whoops.
Oops. I watched a bunch of classics and some really good new movies. Thank you for joining us tonight. Thank you, Rich, for partaking in my Halloween fetish. And everybody,
I'm going to program a month for you, man. It's going to be like all Hong Kong stuff or something.
It's going to be great. I need to brush up on my foreign films. Predator Badlands is opening on Friday, and a bunch of other movies, Oscar-nominated movies, Christie, and things that are definitely going to be Oscar contenders.
Speaking of Hong Kong movies, another thing to make you feel old. This year, Kung Fu Hustle, Stephen Chow's fantastic, turned 20.
No, what, 30, 20. Why did I say 4? I don't know.
I don't know.
Anyway, thank you for joining us. Everybody,
I realized this week, and I gave it a rewatch over the weekend, and holds up really well. A couple of the CG effects are a little dicey, but they were at the time. I don't care.
I can also make you feel old. I'm going to make you feel old with this. 1987, summer, Predator came out. The winter, Christmas, The Running Man came out. We're about to have Predator movie and The Running Man within a week of each other. And that is 35 years later. Just so we're 37 years later.
No, I'm aware exactly how long it's been since 1987 because that's when I graduated high school.
Oh my God. Okay. Wow, you're old. Anyway, thank you for joining us. Thanks. Everybody have a great week. See everybody next week. Go see Predator Badlands. Go see something in a theater, communal. Enjoy yourselves.
Take some friends with you too.
Right. And if somebody acts up, tell on them. It's okay. It's one of the last places to be a tattletale. It's okay. Or just tell them to shut up, or tell them to turn their phone off. Do a little like judging yourself. Don't just sit there and allow it to ruin your experience.
Exactly. Here's a little trick. A lot of these chain theaters, their managers' bonuses are based on feedback from customers.
Surveys.
So if you have a problem and you go and the manager, tell the manager, and they're like, and they get rid of the problem for you, great. Call up find some contact information online and just say, hey, the manager at the AMC at so-and-so was really cool. He fixed some people who were talking, made my experience better. They love that. Same time, if the manager is like, oh, no, I'm not going to do anything about that. Then you go, okay, I'll just, file a complaint with the head office. And then
it is the last place you can be a Karen and be okay with it, because I think
Yes.
other people are already annoyed as well. So
Yeah, you're doing a public
something,
service.
see something, say something, but don't allow it to ruin your experience, because the movie going experience has been around for a long time, and we want it to continue to stick around. So
Yes.
have a great week. Go see a movie. Bye.
Take
Next
care.
week, Witness. Oh wait, hold on. I gotta hit it twice.